everyone, Steve Crosby here. Welcome again to this issue of Monday Morning Musings. Over the next few weeks, I don't know how long it's going to be, but it's going to be a few weeks, we're going to do on Monday Morning Musings, we're going to dive into some excerpts from my book regarding praise and worship. There is probably not a much bigger sacred cow other than money and how to discipline your children in the church than on the topic of praise and worship. I believe it was Charles Spurgeon who called his praise and worship ministry the war room, because people's passions and desires get elevated very quickly. And because we're going to launch into this series, I want to give you a little bit of background about myself, because one of the things I am sure that's going to happen for some who may listen to this, they're going to say, well, he's just an old white guy theologian who doesn't get the presence of the Lord. I was a worship leader for 35 years in a charismatic latter rain. For those of you that are familiar with 20th century revival movements, I was raised in the doctrine of David's tabernacle and all the typology arguments coming from the Old Testament about the importance of praise and worship and so forth. I played guitar, I played drums, I played bass, I played flute in the worship team, and I led worship for 35 years. So I know a little bit of which I speak because I've been there. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, and there's some of all of it. But here's my fundamental premise for where we're going to go for the next few weeks. Something that in our Christian liberty we get to enjoy, get to express, has degenerated into a multi-billion dollar industry that's driven by ego, conformity to the culture, and the premise that when we gather, the reason we gather as the people is to get what I would call the Jesus buzz or the Jesus fix. That the worship leader is supposed to lead someone or lead a congregation into the quote unquote presence of the Lord. Think about it. In your typical evangelical or typical charismatic meeting, at least 30 minutes, if not 45, or if not more, at least half of what we do in our corporate gathering is geared towards something for which there is not a shred of New Testament example, not a shred of New Testament teaching. And we devote so much time and money. Think about the money that's involved in maintaining the worship ministry, the sound system, the lighting, the stage, the instrumentation, the hours of rehearsal. What if all the time we spent rehearsing for our needs once a week was spent actually touching others? There's all kinds of problems with the value systems and the ethics that are behind the typical praise and worship ministry as it's expressed in a local church. I've actually heard people say that Paul, John, the apostles didn't have the revelation. You know, the unfolding of the importance of praise and worship is going to be a last day revelation given to the last day generation. They actually have the nerve to say that the first century apostles just didn't understand it, but we do because God has revealed it here in the last days. They have to say that because if it was as important as people make it out to be, I do believe Paul would have said something, John would have said something, and next to one passing verse about everybody having a song, a hymn, and a spiritual song, that's it. And yet, such a proportion of our time, energy, and resources are devoted to this thing called the praise and worship ministry. I want to establish right at the beginning, there are many things that we are free to do without a Bible verse giving us permission. There are many things that we get to enjoy and express in the liberty that is ours in Jesus. But when those things become mandatory, prioritized, and values in which time, resources, and money are invested to the neglect of clearer, explicit things, we've crossed a line into something very unhealthy. So for the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about this, and I'll see you the next time.